Emma, welcome to the Workplay Podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited that you're here because you have announced new power ups inside of the Workplay Method all around social media, social strategy, social media marketing. This is a huge gap that has not been filled for our Workplay members. And I think it's the gap that's been needing to be filled. So I'm so excited for you to go into it, all the things that you do. But first, what is your business and how long have you been in business?
I'm the founder of 95 Media, and we are a digital marketing agency really focused on social media marketing. It's our bread and butter, and it's what our team is incredibly good at. And I started 95 Media in 2015. So that was kind of when I got boots on the ground, started figuring out, what does it look like to take clients and what does it look like to see success on social media? Because social was so different in 2015. I mean, here we are 9 years later. So much has changed. And so after, 9 years, we have really dug our feet into, understanding the algorithms, understanding the platforms, constantly learning the platforms as they change, as we all experience as well. But at our core, we really are, so passionate about working with brands who are looking to see that growth, because what we see so often is that brands are creating, posting every single day and just not seeing any ROI, not seeing any results. And that's really oftentimes where we come in, and we are able to infuse that strategy and really good marketing tools so that we can turn content that's just there into content that actually converts.
Where did this all get started for you? Like, have you always been passionate about this type of thing? Because I feel like when people say social media marketing, it's like, what does that mean? So like, how did you get into this? And yeah, would love to hear that.
Well, it was not on purpose by any means of the imagination. I actually, in 2015, I was in college and I was going to school for interior design, which is absolutely not marketing and has nothing to do with marketing. But during my time in school, I was at an internship. And at this internship with the design company, this person was looking to grow her coaching business. And I was, what, 19, 20 at the time. And I was the youngest person on her team. And she kind of handed me her phone and her Instagram and was like, I heard people are doing this thing with Instagram, like getting clients here. Can you just look into this? Because I have no idea what we're doing. And I had no idea what we were doing. I was still posting sunset photos and like looking at pictures of puppies on Instagram in 2015. And as I started digging around into the platform with the perspective of a brand, it just opened my eyes to what was kind of going on. Because what I was seeing was potential. And I'm someone who's very excited about potential and seeing untapped resources. So as I was going through Instagram, I was just noticing how much was there and how much untapped potential was there, and looking around and saying, why are more brands not doing this? Like, this is obviously the future. And it just really lit me up in a way that I wasn't getting lit up by design, unfortunately. And it just kind of set me on this path of, I didn't change my entire life at that point. But I started taking on more clients, started doing this sort of as a side hustle at that time. And I really side hustled marketing for 5 years until COVID hit. It was 2020. Everything was just kind of like burning to the ground all around us. I was living in New York City at the time. It was super hard at that point, like in that location. And I just kind of said, if I don't like take the leap and get started in this really uncertain time, I'm never going to do it. And that's something that I really believe in. As entrepreneurs, there's only so far you can go with side hustling and kind of half doing everything, right? Because you want to do it all. And so that was kind of a turning point for me where I said, I just got to do this. I have to go all in. And so, left corporate at that point in 2020, have been really focused on building 95 Media since that point. But there was no real plan getting into marketing. It happened very organically, and I truly believe that's how the best things happen.
Yeah, totally. And now you have a team. How big's your team?
Yeah, our team is 7 women all around the United States.
How do you make sure, as the founder of this, going from side hustle to like full-blown team, full-blown business, how have you really made sure that everything feels up to your standard as you've grown and as you do grow?
That's such a great question because that's been something that I've been super focused on. You know, as an agency, everyone on our team brings different skill sets to the table and is at a different part of their own journey, as we all are. And so for us, quality control and having really good systems in place have been how we can control the output for all of our clients so that no matter if it's going out for our client who's a lawyer or our client who's an artist, the quality of content is this exact same across the board, and the strategies that we're implementing are up to the same level of expectation that we really hold ourselves to as an agency.
And like, what is that standard? Do you have any tangible examples of that as you build the agency?
I would say a tangible example is just really the quality that we put out, which really goes back to our expectation of providing white glove service. So, something that a lot of our clients come to us saying is, I've worked with someone who was my social media manager before, and I found myself needing to create the content idea and needing to feed them all the content. And all they were really doing was like making sure the post got up for me. And so, for us, we just hold ourselves to a different standard. If I were hiring someone to help me with my marketing, this is what I would expect. And that's really how we serve our clients. So when we come in, we have a process. Our onboarding process is super in depth. It lasts 2 weeks. Like there's a lot that we go through in the initial onboarding that sets all of our clients up for success with us. So they fill out several forms for us. We put together an audit for them and a whole strategy for every platform that we're working on. And then as we create content and it goes up, we're not just, writing a caption and posting it to their profile. We are integrating strategy into everything that we do, creating the content from the ground up, writing the caption, getting it out. And then we are really, really focused on engaging in their profiles as well to build that community for them. So we kind of have this checklist that we go through as a team. What do we do daily for every client? What do we do weekly, monthly, and quarterly? Because that really holds our standards and makes sure that nothing is falling through the cracks and all of our clients are receiving the same level of service that we expect to deliver on.
Yes, I love a good system. I
Yes.
feel like we're like very much systems people over here at Workplay Branding. So the fact that you guys are so systems orientated is like the chef's kiss for anyone who is doing like visuals plus social strategy with either or. You talked a lot about, or you had mentioned looking at social media from the perspective of a brand. Could you elaborate on that? Because I think social media for a personal like account is so much different than social media for a business account. And there's not, I don't know if there's a lot of talk of like, how do you look at social media from a business perspective? And even as I'm saying this, I'm kind of thinking people with like personal brands, like, does that mean that they're looking at it from like a personal perspective or a business perspective?
I love that. I love this question. So, the number one differentiator between looking at your accounts as personal versus business is really your goal with that account at the end of the day. So, with a personal account, if you're not looking to monetize anything, meaning it's not a personal brand, it's just, we all have a personal profile that's just kind of like friends and family. You're just posting to post and you're enjoying it. And yeah, you're probably curating your image there as we all do, but it's not with the purpose of really doing anything besides, updating your family and friends. When it comes to building a brand, whether that is a professional offer, service, product, or a personal brand, your end goal is always mostly going to be monetization of some kind. So if you're building a personal brand, maybe that looks like building trust with your audience so that you can sell affiliate products, right? So you're linking to Amazon, you're linking to products that you have a discount code for, so you're getting a kickback on those. That's monetization just as much as selling a service or a product is for a professional brand. So when you're building this business profile of any kind, really you're looking at it from the lens of how do I build trust with my audience through my content, meaning a relationship with them, connection with them, community with them, in a way that makes them want to buy from me versus someone else. And that goes as deep as we can look at the influencer space that's, been here for 10 plus years. The reason some of these OG influencers are still around is because they are so good at building connection with their audience. And some of them don't even have their own brands, right? They've just been doing affiliate products for 10 years. And that really goes to show how much you can make and do off of building trust with your audience. But just as much as an influencer, if you are a product or a service, you have to build trust and really focus on that community, because community is becoming more and more important. And if you don't have community as a brand, you're not going to make as much as you hope, because we're all looking to be seen and heard and find connection not only with the brands that we buy, but with the consumers of the brand as well. Where as Gen Z becomes more and more influential in the marketplace, they really care about the companies that they buy from. So if you have this deep story that you can tell and this passion behind what it is that you sell, it's going to build that connection even deeper. So there's a couple of these different lenses that we want to put on our content and the way that we approach our platforms when we're looking at our business profiles.
What if someone's listening and they're like, okay, that's great, Emma, but I literally have 100 followers. I don't know how to create a community. I don't know the first step to any of this. What would you tell that person?
Yeah, so I would say that it's never a bad thing to be there. You just don't want to stay there. So just because you don't know how doesn't mean that you can't learn how, right? And so learning can either come from, listening to podcasts like this one, listening to educational courses, reading books, learning from others, paying someone for like a one-off call to learn and kind of pick their brain a little bit. Or you can always outsource it, right? I really, really believe that we don't have to be good at everything. As entrepreneurs, we try and be good at everything. And that can get you pretty far. It can, but you're going to hit this point where you realize that the truth is other people can do it better than you. And you can't always outsource in that way in the beginning, but hopefully you get to a point where you can and you're able to begin doing that. And I think that some of these power ups that you offer, on Workplay is just a really great opportunity to explore and to see where you could get support there. If you're not ready for that support, I really do recommend, though, tapping into these resources, because there is so much that you can learn. When I started in 2015, there was like no resources on how to look at social. I was like, okay, we're just swimming in the dark here. There's absolutely nothing on the internet, but there's so much out there today. And I think when you get started, you learn a lot. So as you learn, implement what you learn, because you'll then begin to get data from the profiles that you're posting to, and that data will tell you everything. One of the biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs and content creators make is that they put all this time and effort into learning and creating and posting, and then they never look at the data. And it's like, well, the data is going to tell you what is working and what is not. So really, like, carve out time every week to look at your data and really digest what it's telling you, because your community is going to tell you everything about what they like and what they don't like, so that you can then begin to optimize the content that you're putting out there, rather than just doing what you're doing because you're guessing about what may be working.
And when you say data, like what do you mean by data? And what does that look like for someone on a weekly basis to look at that data?
So by data, I mean the analytics that each platform is giving you. So whether you're posting on Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook, LinkedIn, like literally any platform, It's going to give you analytics. And most of the platforms actually will break down analytics for every single post that you publish. And so it'll congregate data in terms of, okay, here was your account reach for the week or for the month or for the quarter, but here's also the content reach for this one post that you put out on Monday. And so you're going to want to take a look at what was my top performing content and then the aggregate data. So week over week, is our brand reach increasing? Is it decreasing? If it's decreasing, what were the posts that performed the least or the worst? And then if it's increasing significantly, you want to look at which content is doing that, making that impact for you, right? And so for Instagram, typically you're going to see if my reach has doubled week over week, it's probably because a reels really popped off. So what was that reel? What was the topic? What was the style? What was the audio? How much text was on there? What was the length of the video? Like you want to really dissect all of this data. For us
Mhm.
at 95 Media, we send our clients weekly analytics reports because looking at your data on a weekly basis, it's going to kind of be all over the place, right? So your numbers are going to be up one week and they're going to be down another week. And so it's a little volatile. And it's also something to be aware of that it's going to look like that because you don't want to panic mode when you see your numbers in the red for one week. With that said, though, I believe in tracking numbers on a weekly basis because a lot of other agencies look at data on a monthly basis. And it's really difficult to optimize and adjust your strategy if you've gone 30 whole days without looking at your numbers. So while you don't need to panic week over week about your numbers, you definitely want to be looking at them and aware of what is going on rather than waiting for 30 days. So for us, like I said, we send a weekly report. We also track numbers monthly, and then we send a quarterly report as well to all of our social media management clients because on a quarterly basis, you're zoomed out so far now that you're now comparing 90 days over 90 days, and you can really get a super big picture of what is making an impact for you and also look at the upcoming strategy for next quarter. So I really recommend weekly, monthly, quarterly to really look at your numbers significantly and make those adjustments that are going to make an impact for you.
I love that. I think data is such, it's like, check the data, check the data, check the data. But like, I don't see a lot of people explaining like what the data actually is. And then I feel like, okay, it makes sense why no one's checking the data. So I love that you explain that. I have a question about data though. If you're seeing maybe something that's not volatile, maybe something that's like very even, but you want to raise that. So it's like, okay, I'm stuck here, but I want to raise that. Are there like tips or tricks or a strategy for raising what you maybe is like your bar on the algorithm, if that makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So, oftentimes when we see a plateau in an account, right? So, we're seeing like your numbers have gone up a significant amount, and then week over week, as you said, they're kind of remaining steady. We want to look at a few different factors. So, if you're running paid ads in that account where you're seeing a plateau, you're most likely going to want to increase your ads budget slightly in order to spike your numbers back up. So, Instagram, Meta, Facebook, like any platform is going to be happy with your ad spend. It's going to reward you for your ad spend because it's pay to play nowadays. But you're going to start to notice a plateau every like 4 to 6 months with your ad spend. So you just want to kind of slight increase. Like we're talking like $100, $200 a month of an increase. Like it's a small number. And with that small increase, you'll see a big spike because the algorithm's going to say, oh, well, now they're giving us more. Yay, we're happy again. Let's go. Here we are. Let's give them more, reach and everything. If you're not running paid media and this is simply organic, which is really what most of our clients are in is really organic marketing. If you're at a plateau, you want to look at a few different things. So if you are posting maybe 5 times a week right now, I'd look at posting 6 or 7 times a week, right? So more content will get you a bigger reach. I'd also look at what is driving the most conversions for you, the biggest results. So, if you're seeing, for example, that your Reels content is getting you 75% of your reach and your photo content is getting you 25% of your reach, and your reach is what you want to increase, maybe stay at 5 posts a week. And instead of 2 photos a week and 3 videos, you do 4 videos and 1 photo, because that small change will really increase your numbers if your reels are what is driving the most impact for you. And then the last thing I would look at is your engagement. So, engagement is something that we are really, really big on. And engagement is really, it's as simple as inbound engagement is replying to what's happened to your account. So, replying to a comment, replying to DMs, nurturing the people who are already aware of you. And most of us are aware of this type of engagement. The type that some people aren't aware of, and a lot of brands are not doing, is outbound engagement. And this is not, there's no shortcut to this. There's no AI that can do this for you in an authentic way. It really requires manual time, which is why so many brands don't do it, which also means you should do it because it'll set you apart. Is going into your account and spending an hour on every posting day, identifying your target market, identifying your ideal client on that platform, going to their content and engaging with their content. So that could look like leaving a reply on their feed post, replying to their stories, starting a DM conversation, getting in front of them, in front of new people. And that's really going to increase your brand awareness, which will impact your reach, your profile visits, your website clicks, and should really spike you up. And that hour of engagement is included in every single one of our social media management packages because it is incredibly, incredibly important to the overall success of your content and of your profile.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I feel like I just got like a whole MBA in social media marketing. This is amazing, Emma. I'm very curious because this is all like it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
It's a full-time job. I can see why you would need to hand this off to someone else so that you can focus on whatever you need to focus on in your business. I'm curious now for our workplay members who are like, hey, I've gotten all my content, I've gotten the visuals that I need. What does the process look like, or why does your process need all of these visuals? Because I have come across so many people who are like, okay, I did my brand shoot, I got 50 photos back, and I've used all of them in the first month. So, can you kind of like just paint the picture of what it looks like to have this visual strategy paired with the social strategy?
Absolutely. So I don't think that a lot of people going into marketing their brand on social media really realize the content demands that these platforms have nowadays. And the truth is that it has increased a lot over the past few years, and just the sheer amount of visuals that you need to market your company, whether it's a personal brand or professional brand, as we said, it's a lot. And it's not going anywhere either. It's going to keep going up. So to have, hundreds of images every quarter, however often you're getting new imagery and working with Workplay, right? You are set up for success because you have those visuals. Now, having the visuals is one thing, and being able to use them to your advantage is a very different thing. So, having this beautiful library is perfect to then work with us and bring that to life on social. What we'll do is utilize this library that you have of photos and videos of your brand that have been taken at Workplay branding shoots, and then build a strategy to actually use them in your marketing. So we'll determine how many videos a week do we need, how many photos a week do we need, are we doing carousels? Are we doing static? What's our Instagram story strategy? How are we putting them up on Pinterest? How can we create videos from photos as well, right? And when you have imagery that is representative of your brand, it's half the legwork, but you have to know then how to bring them to life. Because if you're just saying, like, okay, I'm just going to post like 5 single photos a week to Instagram with like a 10-word caption and hope for the best because that worked back in 2018, it's not really going to drive the results that you're looking for. So to infuse really both of these services together is just going to really, really change so much in terms of your actual results and your ROI that you're seeing from these beautiful images that you're already having on hand.
Oh my gosh, you're like preaching to the choir. I'm like, we gotta come with some strategy here. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people will take the content, the photo content or the video content and be like, "All right, I'm done." Exactly like what you've explained. And it's just like we live in a world where it's just not enough. I find that like the photo and the video is then the catalyst to then go out and create that strategy, or vice versa. It depends, but a lot of times my workplace members are like, "Okay, I've got the content. Now what?" It's like, okay, it's the jumping off point.
Yeah.
I also find that the content makes people really excited or more confident if they're like, all right, I have good content. Now I can like put money behind it. So if you're feeling like that, it's like, okay, I got the good content now. I'm ready for the strategy. Like Emma in 95 Media are your people.
Yeah.
As far as launching, because I think like launching versus just organic content is a little different. Like what does that look like? A, within 95 Media, but B, just in general. Like what should people be doing if they're launching?
Launching like their brand on social media.
Let's say, because I guess we could go into launching a brand because so many people are like, I'm rebranding, I'm gonna launch the new brand. But then, like, people who are launching services or evergreen services or have, products that are coming out, what does that look like from like a social media perspective?
Right. So with social, one of the biggest mistakes I see is that people, brands will create this product, this service, and just drop it on social like Beyonce drops an album and hope for the best, right? And then you wake up the next morning and you're like, "Oh my gosh, it's Christmas and I can't wait to see like all these sales I made," and you gotten one and it's like your grandma from out of state. And the truth is you can't just drop products or a service or a new way that you're able to serve your audience anymore. It We really have to build out a marketing strategy for whatever it is that you're doing. So for our clients that we serve at 95 Media, we work with them several months out from a new launch. So typically we're meeting every single month with our clients. So we're always saying like, okay, what's coming up for you? Like what's happening in the next quarter? And if someone tells me, "Oh, we're currently working on this new course that we're launching, or we're creating this new product and it's in the final development stages. It's launching in 3 months. We don't need to talk about it yet. Like we'll tell you the launch date when it comes." We're like, "Absolutely not. Pause. Like what is going on? Let's back it in here." So what we like to do is really we want to be aware of something at least 3 months out. Like as a marketing team, whether you have an in-house like CMO or you're working with a fractional company or an agency like 95 Media, you have to inform your team what's going on. Like they are a partner for you. And that's really how we look at our work as well. So 3 months out, we want to be aware of it because we want to start kind of transitioning our content really slowly, organically, in a way where no one's going to realize what's happening, to start mentioning some of these words. One example of this is that we work with a landscaping company out of California, and she's been with us for 3 years. She's an absolutely amazing client, and they've done landscape design services since they started their company. Absolutely beautiful. They design like backyards, side yards, all that stuff. They launched a service this year around maintenance. So now they're able to come into the yards that they've designed and maintain them. So fix the mulch, replant, water them, cut the yard. Like they have a whole new team just to serve maintenance services. We started planning that 5 months out. And what we started doing was just integrating this word of maintenance into their content. We did not talk about the service. We didn't say anything was coming. We didn't mention that they're working on anything. Just talking about this idea of maintaining your yard to plant the seed. Because what starts to happen then is that when and as we begin to kind of introduce this service more and more like in your face, like, "Hey, this is coming. Here's the launch date. Sign up here. Here's a discount for our first 50 sales," like whatever that looks like, the consumer says, "Oh, well, of course they are. Of course that makes sense because they've been talking about maintenance forever." But it's not been forever. It's been for a couple of months because we've backed into this. Then about like 4 weeks out, you start kind of teasing the offer. A few weeks out, you start running promos, you start building a wait list, right? There's so many different launch strategies that you can do, but you can only do them if you have time and if you plan them strategically. So the biggest thing to do when you're launching anything is make sure you're communicating that to your team. Everyone is on board, everyone understands the dates, and you're giving your marketing team time to really build out this campaign and these strategies so that we can bring this to life and it be a cohesive message across your social, your email, your in person. Maybe you send out mailers, maybe you're at a conference and you want to talk about it. You have to have this consistent messaging and your dates aligned across the board. And that really can only happen if everyone's on the same page and you've really backed into this planning wise.
Oh my gosh, this is so good because even for my workplay members listening, you create content on a quarterly basis. So Emma and 95 Media are explaining to you, like, hey, we got to know 3 months in advance. Well, you're already thinking about that 3 months in advance, right? Because you're creating your visual content. And I think really the bridge here is like visually, what are like as you're thinking up your concepts, you have a partner to execute that visually and have something that really pops and stands out, like that you can give to 95 Media, and then they're able to construct the strategy. This is what I'm hearing. Is that true?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. And quarterly strategy is something that we're really big on too. Being able to look at the upcoming 90 days is going to set you up for success so that you can back into it. And so we would really work as a partner going into your shoots and saying, okay, great. Like these are the images you're going to need for this launch that's coming up. Let's plan ahead of time so you have this ready to go. We can start creating content on our end and you know that you're going to have what you need going into, the upcoming quarter.
I mean, I think that's why I was so excited to have 95 Media serve the workplay community because that is really the part where I think the successful workplay members have a social media partner with them. So the two don't compete. I think sometimes for any of my potential workplay members listening to this, we get asked the question like, okay, so now that I've hired you, I can just ditch like my social girl. No,
Yeah.
they are partners. And I would say like ditch, whoever is doing your social if they're not doing it the way that we've described here. Cause I know so many people that have team members that have agencies that don't go into this type of depth that 95 Media goes into. And I think it's all so, so important. Is there any mistakes, red flags that you should be aware of when it comes to like social media marketing for all of our listeners out there?
Ooh, I feel like this list is endless.
I feel like this is an industry that has just like so much fluff around it where it's just like, who do we listen to? How do we do this? What's going on? So I would love for you to like set the record straight.
Oh, 100%. We have heard so many horror stories. I can't even tell you of like, oh, I was working with this person, we paid them so much money to do what we thought they were going to be doing. And then we came out on the other end and got literally no results. So I would say a few big red flags. So if your social media marketing person or social media manager is promising results of any kind, run. No one can promise results. No one can guarantee results. I know everyone wants a guarantee. Every sales call I've ever gotten on. So what will it look like? Like, what can I expect? What are the numbers I'm going to see? I literally never promise anything. I can tell you what our current clients are seeing and what is typical, but I cannot tell you what you will see because there are so many factors that go into it. I don't know what your account looks like on the back end until I get my hands in there and get dirty in there. And no one can guarantee results. So that's number one. Number two, if someone is quoting you a very low price, I would question that. So a very low price in social media management would be, a couple $100, which is why, workplace branding is you're so great at what you do because you're able to keep your price point low, but it is visuals, right? Like that's not strategy. That's not creating the content. It's not putting it out there and building community and looking at data. And if someone is doing it right and actually putting in the time, the price point is more than a couple $100. It's typically several $1,000s per month, and it's an investment into your brand that you're going to see an ROI on.
Mm.
The truth is, and I think we all know this, but we don't like to admit it, that it's very difficult to grow a brand these days without a social media presence and without creating really great content. And so that investment is absolutely worth it. Number three to look at is if they're saying that they need all of the content from you, AKA you're going to be providing the images, which obviously you will be, but you're also going to be like writing the captions and like scheduling the things out and doing half the legwork. I would really question that because that's not really a partner. That's just kind of a executor for you. And you don't really, what you're looking for is someone who can strategically, build out your online presence, create content that's going to bring in a community and ultimately convert for you. And I would also really go into this relationship and this partnership with specific goals in mind. Part of our onboarding process is we have a whole questionnaire. It's called partnership goals. We want to know, what are your goals for this partnership? What are the KPIs that you're tracking? And how can we support you in hitting those? Because your team needs to be aware of where you want to go. Not only does that impact the strategy that we will then build for you, but it also makes sure that the communication is open so that I know when and if you're going to be concerned about numbers, I can tweak the strategy accordingly and also just kind of make you more confident in what we're doing. Because as I said, the numbers are going to go up and down. That's just how social goes. And so sometimes, maybe we're missing the mark on a number, but there's a very specific reason why. And we can walk you through it and just kind of let you know how we're going to be fixing that moving forward. Maybe it's because we wanted to put out a specific type of content for a launch or something along those lines. So I would really make sure that you're clear on your goals, not only with yourself, but you're communicating them with your team too.
Oh, yeah. I feel like this is like business 101, 101 when it comes to communication. I think sometimes, I'm sure, as you've said, you've seen this where you hire someone and then you expect them to read your mind. That's just, it's never going to work with a creative partner, with a strategic partner. It just doesn't work. They will always need your feedback, your communication. So I love that you highlighted that. I have one last question for you. This has been such a treat to have you come on, explain all of the nitty gritty when it comes to social and all of the strategy. Um, for anyone who is a potential workplay member or a current workplay member who is wanting to implement the strategy that you have just laid out so beautifully for us on this episode, what is your advice for them? Let's say specifically workplay members who are creating visuals on a quarterly basis. What is your advice for implementing both strategies?
So, my advice would definitely be to get us on board before your next workplace shoot so that we can work with you on your strategy going into the shoot. We have worked with so many brands on content shoots. We were actually just in LA for this huge production for one of our clients. And it's really, really important for your social team to be integrated into that strategy going into a shoot, making sure that the shot list is aligned with what you're going to need, as we said, going into the upcoming quarter and even beyond that, because sometimes you want to pull past content and you just want to think long term. So I would definitely get us involved before your next shoot. And then kind of, as I said, begin thinking through what are your goals for working with 95 Media as a social media marketing partner. Really kind of begin thinking those things through. Also, if you're not super clear on your ideal client and the person that you're trying to speak to, I would really hone in on that and sit with it. Look at who you've served in the past, who you want to be serving moving forward, because all of your marketing strategy really goes back to your target audience, how you speak to them, what you're saying, how you're marketing, what are your visuals, because again, going into your shoot, your visuals want to connect with that target market as well. And then the last piece is really your brand voice. So, as you bring someone new into the fold of your business, one of the biggest concerns that a lot of our clients express to us really during like the sales call and onboarding is, I'm just so nervous about passing this off because I don't feel like anyone could really say the things that I say if it's not me. And so I feel like I'm going to have to write some captions. I feel like I'm going to have to do a lot of editing and I'm just worried about the time that's going to go into it. And one of our biggest strengths at 95 Media is capturing brand voice extremely quickly. Our clients are often not even reading our content that we're writing for them within a few weeks because they're just like, you guys got it. They cannot believe how quickly we were able to grab it. And it really goes back to our onboarding brand voice questionnaire that everyone will fill out. However, you can't fill it out well if you aren't clear on it yourself. So, really take a minute and sit down and say, okay, well, what are the things that I say that set us apart? What makes us different? How do we communicate with our audience? Who am I? How do I get kind of like what lives in my head onto paper? And then that will really support us in creating the content that's most representative of who you are, because we never want it to feel like someone can feel the difference between you writing a post versus us writing a post. It should be very, very consistent and congruent across the board. So, yeah, so get us involved, kind of get the wheels moving as soon as you can, because, the faster you kick things off, the faster you're going to see results, is the real truth.
Oh, so good, so good. And I just want to touch on the fact that you guys have like this satisfaction in the copy, because that is like so hard to find someone who can capture the social copy. I don't know if like anyone listening knows this, but a lot of copywriters have like ousted social copy from like their list of services because it is so hard to get right. It's time consuming. So the fact that you can have a partner that will do that with you and for you is amazing.
Yeah.
Emma, thank you so much. I'm so excited for Workplay members to implement 95 Media's strategy on all of their platforms. So freaking excited. If you are a potential or current Workplay member wanting to implement the 95 Media strategy on your social with your visual campaigns that you're creating within Workplay branding, just DM us social at Workplay Branding on Instagram. If you are a current Workplay member, you can also just notify us in Voxer and we'll send you over all of the links. Emma, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so excited for all of this and all of the power ups that you're doing.
Yay. I'm so excited as well. I cannot wait to get started with Workplay Branding members. And thank you so much for having me. This has been so, so fun.
So much fun.